Winning cures everything. Now for your hosts, Gary and Chris.
Welcome in. Winning cures everything. It is Halloween. Happy Halloween, Chris.
What's going on, man?
Oh, brother. What a fantastic weekend of college football. I mean, it was absolutely killer. I could not ask for anything more. Brown Yeti's already in. He said, "Sup, fellas? What is up indeed?" We have got so much to discuss. Braves up 3-1 on the Astros in the World Series. Not a bad ball game. You know, last night I was pretty excited about how things went down with that. Had that on one of the TVs, and you know, it still feels strange having baseball finish right in the middle of college football, and then of course there's all these other things going on as well with UFC in the middle of the day and whatever else. But all in all, I mean, just a fantastic weekend on Halloween weekend. You knew some crazy stuff was going to happen, and we certainly got it. Chris, how was your Halloween weekend, or how has it been thus far?
I mean, it was fine, uneventful. Took the kids Friday night to the zoo, and yesterday did nothing.
So I have not been to Zubu in a couple of years now. Is Zubu still like kind of uneventful, or is it, you know, a whole lot of fun? Like, what have they changed up anything in it?
I have no idea. I haven't been in a couple of years until this year, and it was fine. I mean, it was fine. It was fine for kids. I mean, you know,
yeah.
If there were plenty of grown-ups walking around like by themselves without children, like it's a pretty lame evening.
That's kind of what I feel like. Yeah,
you could have found many other options in the Memphis area to go do as a grown-up. If you want to dress up and kind of let the whore out, that's fine. The zoo's probably not the place for it, and were
there a lot of people dressed like a little skanky on Friday evening for Zubu?
Yeah,
really.
But that's all Halloween is for adults. Once you hit like 19, once you hit like 17, you're just, it's just a night to be able to let the whore out. Okay,
yeah.
We just all pull our cock out and we just wear whatever you want and look like a moron, and that's fine. Some people look super hot. Some people look ridiculous. It's whatever.
That's what Halloween
people
is.
Like me who look like a troll dress ridiculous to kind of hide and cover up who they are, and then people who look attractive for the most part, it gives them an excuse to pull their tits and balls out.
There you go. Did you dress up this year?
So our family did like the girls wanted to do a Wizard of Oz thing. You know, I wore some jeans, and boots, and you know,
straw hat and whatnot.
Yeah, they bought me a straw hat. You know, I listen. I was the same thing I am on this show and every other day. I was a brainless idiot.
Well, I love you more than that, so I won't call you a brainless idiot.
That's fine.
But I was Jack Skellington last night. My wife was Sally, and Lincoln went as good gracious, what is it? The Spider-Man that's like in the black suit. What is it? Miles Morales. Yeah, so he went as that, but he's also got a Blippi costume. We have been to so many trunk or treats and whatnot from Thursday through whatever, and then tonight is actual trick or treating in the neighborhood. So it's going to be mayhem, I would imagine. Chris, we had so I counted 8 top 25 teams. I had somebody else that said that 9 top 25 teams lost yesterday. 5 of them were to unranked teams, and we have got 3 undefeateds that lost yesterday. That leaves us with 6. The 3 undefeateds that lost: San Diego State, Michigan, and SMU. And the ones that are left: Georgia, Oklahoma. I think we probably could have called that, you know, at the beginning of the season. And we have Michigan State, Wake Forest, UTSA, and Cincinnati. Kenneth Walker III used to play for Wake Forest and now plays for Michigan State, and both of them are undefeated. So I wonder if maybe there was some kind of a trade-off there.
Well, it's a definite. I don't think Kenneth Walker would be the same guy if he was at Wake Forest, just because the offense that they run, he wouldn't be getting the touches.
Agreed.
And he knew that, which is why he wanted to transfer. He wanted to run. He wanted to go to a pro-style offense that ran the football because he knew what he was capable of doing. And if he stayed at Wake Forest, nobody would know his name.
No, you have got that right. So lots to discuss, of course, this morning. So let's go ahead and do the rundown right quick. WinningCuresEverything.com is the website. You can find everything you need to know about us over there, every show that we do, etc. So go there. Make sure you are subscribed. See a lot of people live this morning, so go ahead and make sure that you like the video for us. That certainly helps us out on YouTube. This Sunday morning show is live on YouTube, and then it goes out to the other platforms. So, join us every Sunday morning. We have a good time here knocking this thing out. It's always fun to rehash what happened on Saturday and sometimes, the Friday night games if there's any worth discussing, etc. So go ahead and subscribe, like the video, like I said, share it out, jump into the chat. We've already got Ball Python Love in here, Zach 2, Brown Yeti, etc. You guys jump in, and you can be a part of the conversation. You can help drive the narrative. Antoine Johnson jumped in, said, "Morning, fellas. Good morning. It's always good to see the crew in here having a good time on the Sunday morning shows." Let's see. Chris hosts the SBR Sports Picks college football show, and you can find that on Twitter as of right now. It'll be back on YouTube eventually. But go ahead and make sure that you are signed up for their Twitter account and for their YouTube. I host the BetUS College Football Show. That's on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and there's a link in the description to those. So make sure you are signed up, and you can hear even more college football thoughts throughout the week from yourself and myself. So let's go ahead and talk about who sponsors the show, and that would be BetUS. They are America's premier sports book, and you go over there and sign up with the promo code NCAAF 2021. They're going to give you a 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,500, and it is sports book exclusive. I tell you every time out, it's an amazing deal. Make sure and take advantage of it. It's awesome. Larry Pilgrim knows what's up. He tosses in the thumbs up. He said, yes, indeed, BetUS. That's what I'm talking about. BetUS, where the game begins. Sign up. Use the promo code. There is a link in the description. You can click that. It's going to toss the promo code in there for you. So you don't even have to remember the words that I'm telling you. All right, let's go ahead and do it. We have got some magnificent games to break into. Michigan State 37, Michigan 33. It would be criminal to not lead off with this game because it was the best game of Saturday. Michigan had a 70% post-game win expectancy in this game, but they settled for 4 field goals. Michigan State turned the ball over 2 times early, and Michigan turned the ball over 2 times late. This was an interesting. The tale of the game, of course, Michigan State was a 4-point underdog. Michigan State won drive points, and for those that are unaware, that is 60-plus yard drives. They won those 30-14. They won rushing yards, 199 to 146. They had no fourth down failures. Michigan had 2, so those are effectively turnovers. Michigan won yardage in this game, Chris, 552 to 395. They won yards per play, 6.7 to 6. And Michigan won third downs, 47% to 31%. But again, had to settle for 4 field goals. That's going to cost you at some point when you get into tight ball games. This was a magnificent football game. The star players showed out. It was everything that you could hope that it would be. Andrell Anthony, a little bit of a coming out party, a little bit. I mean, he was speed demon on that first touchdown for Michigan. And when that play first happened, my thought process was, oh, I have bet on the wrong horse because I did not think that Michigan had that kind of speed, and he is an absolute playmaker. But all in all, I think you and I both liked Michigan State in this game. Home crowd was amazing. The atmosphere before the game was nuts. Hey, did you see the difference between like the Barstool live crowd and ESPN's live crowd? Oh, just banger. Loved it. All in all, like, give me your thoughts here. This was a fabulous football game, man.
Great football game is exactly what I kind of thought it was. A little bit more scoring than I was expecting, but a back and forth game, super tight the entire way. Every time Michigan pulled out within 2 scores, Michigan State found a way to always bring it back. I thought that was pretty impressive. I think both these teams are really good, by the way. I don't think this is a knock or a fall. Like, everybody's killing Harbaugh this morning. And I'm thinking, did anybody in the country think that this team was going to be 6-1 this week?
Are they 6? I think they're 7-1.
7-1.
Nobody believed they'd be 7-0 coming into this ballgame.
Nobody thought by week 8, nobody thought Michigan would be 7-1. Okay? So the idea that this is where it bothers me. We have this perception of these teams before the season starts. And then teams do something unbelievable. And we've changed our perspective so much that as soon as they fall, we forget what we thought they were beforehand, and we hold them to this new standard. The same thing with Arkansas, who didn't play this weekend. Everyone keeps calling them frauds. Arkansas was picked to win 4 games this year. Yes. All right? Like, how in the hell are they frauds because they lost 3 in a row? We thought they would lose like 8 in a row.
Well, they were all to ranked teams. Like, this is Michigan went on the road to a ranked team,
a top 10 team,
and lost at the last second.
Yes. And so we throw up Harbaugh's record against top 10 teams, and we throw up his record against, like, how many of those top 10 teams were Ohio State when they were 1, 2, or 3 in the country? Because I think that most of them are that team. Okay?
Yeah. Well, a lot of them are Michigan State as well, and that's part of the issue here.
No, they're not, because Michigan State has beat them, but Michigan State hasn't been a top 10 team since this game.
Agreed.
So what I'm talking about is top 10 record where everybody's shitting on him after the game was over with.
The top 10 record would be some of them Wisconsin, sometimes Penn State, sometimes Ohio State, and
always Ohio State.
Yeah, always Ohio
State. So if you take all the Ohio State games out, because we acknowledge the fact that Ohio State is far superior than them, half of that number gets cut in half.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. All right. Then we can all shut up.
I tend to agree. I don't think Michigan did anything. If you want to start pointing out Harbaugh being a choker and whatnot, you could find things in that fourth quarter to point that direction. However,
the only thing that they had struggles with at the fourth quarter were turnovers. If the freshman quarterback coming in, if Harbaugh doesn't make that move to try to get a little bit of a run dynamic from the quarterback position in, and that kid doesn't fumble the ball 2 times, like, all right, you can kill Harbaugh for that because he shouldn't have put that guy in. But at some point in time, when is that guy's not supposed to just drop the football? Because he didn't have the ball stripped from him. He didn't have the ball taken away from him. He just dropped it both times.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong about that.
So it's not like they didn't coach him up well, whatever. That guy's just not prepared for that moment. And okay, so maybe you shouldn't have put him in that moment. That's a coaching decision. I understand that. I'm not defending the guy. I guess I am defending him because I think both of these teams have so overperformed what we thought they would be this year. And so whoever lost this game, we were going to spend the day killing them. And I just don't understand that.
I'm with you. I don't believe anybody deserved to be killed over this game.
No, it's a fantastic game, and somebody has to lose.
Yes. No, you're 100% right. Michigan, where it cost them, I think, was so early on, they get the interception from Peyton Thorne, and they are at the 30-yard line and of Michigan State. They drive it all the way to the 4th and 3. They have to kick a 26-yard field goal. Same thing the next time out. They are up 10-7, and they're driving. They drive all the way down to the Michigan State 20. It's 4th and 2 at the 20. They have to kick a 38-yard field goal. Like, in situations like this, you kind of have to play to win in a game where you know the other team is going to hit back at some point, right?
I would have rather gone for it and not gotten the points, but had Michigan State pinned back in the 10-yard line than getting the 3 multiple times. But that's the way I see the game. That's the way I like to play football, especially when you have a good defense that's doing a really good job overall for the most part. Make them drive at 90, 95 yards. If you don't, the 3 points ain't going to help you. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. Hey, Kenneth Walker III, by the way, Larry Pilgrim jumped in and said, Kenneth Walker, enough said. Kenneth Walker III, 23 carries, 197 yards, 5 touchdowns. He had all the touchdowns. I mean, just ridiculous how well he performed in this game. Was absolutely killer. He had more rushing yards than Peyton Thorne had passing yards, and that's awesome. Eric jumped in. He said, Michigan and Ohio State coaches that can't win that matchup don't keep their jobs. And he ain't wrong.
That's just not that's just not true. Harbaugh's not getting fired for losing this game.
No, agreed. In the past, he's talking historically. They don't keep their jobs if they don't beat the other team. John Cooper was like that. So do we think
Harbaugh's going to get fired this year? Let's say Harbaugh loses Penn State and Ohio State. You think Harbaugh gets fired?
No, I don't believe Harbaugh gets fired at this point because he has well overperformed what they were supposed to be this year. I think he's got them headed in the right direction.
That statement brings no value. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So that's he's talking from a historical perspective, and I get where he's coming from. But I don't think this situation is similar because Ohio State has never been this, like what they are right now. They are a juggernaut and one of only 3 or 4 in this sport right now. To compare Michigan
Ohio
to
State?
that, Ohio State is, yeah.
This year?
No, just overall as a program, not this team this year, just overall as a program.
Why are we talking about Ohio State right now?
Because of you have a valid point there. Let's jump off that. Haskins only had 59 yards rushing. Corum only had 45. Michigan State kind of shut them down a little bit, and that was, I say shut them down. They still had 500 and whatever yards, but when they needed to, they stopped them. It was a bend don't break defense.
It was a perfect bend but don't break defense by Mel Tucker. It was a perfect bend but don't break defense by Mel Tucker.
Mel Tucker, you want to talk about stocks going through the roof?
Yep.
I'm sure that his agent may have gotten a few calls from Baton Rouge yesterday. We'll just say that. So yep. I don't know that is going to happen, but we'll see. Let's move on to the next game. We don't want to spend all day on Michigan State. Next one up here, Miami 38, Pitt 34, and this was an incredible game as well. Another 11 a.m. game. Eric said should have been fired 3 years ago. I guess talk about Harbaugh. Maybe.
And then they wouldn't be 7-1 today.
Yeah. I mean, well, it depends on who they hire, I guess. But
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
You don't think so?
No. Yeah. No. They're not, Gary, they're not getting anybody better than Harbaugh right now. All right. I know that he's not the second coming of everybody that they want him to be, but who the hell are they hiring that's going in there and turning that thing around? That's doing what he's doing, which is consistently winning 9 or 10 games. Who's doing that?
That's you're not wrong about that, but I mean, Matt Campbell could go in there. This schedule this year has not exactly been the most difficult. So, we'll see. Moving on again, Miami won at Pitt 38-34, and I told you on the Pick'em show that I felt like Miami was the play, and I went Pitt anyway because if you look at all the analytics and what Pitt was playing like a top 10 team, and Miami comes in. Here's the storyline of the game. They won drive points 31-21. Pitt had a fourth down failure. Pitt won yardage 587 to 490. Yards per play 7.4 to 6.9. They won third downs 43-33. Pickett had 519 passing yards, and he had 2 interceptions. Tyler Van Dyke, brother. I mean, this guy was playing, and he's done this every game out, it feels like. Had 428 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, was 32 out of 42. They didn't really need a running game, but Knighton ran 17 times for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, this team is fighting.
Pitt's defense is just pitiful in this game.
They could not get stops when they needed to, and that was irritating. Miami was only 4 of 12 on third down, but they didn't get into a ton of third downs. Like at 12,
I was about to say they only had 12 third downs.
Yeah, in the red zone, Miami was 4 out of 4. Pretty good job. Pretty good job there. Miami looked like a good, competent football team. Pitt, by the way, 9 penalties for 108 yards. That is going to hurt. That's going to hurt you. So this was an incredible game. There were multiple opportunities for Pitt to take over this game. I mean, they got stomped in the first quarter. I mean, they were down 21-10 and could not stop Miami at all. They only gave up 7 points in the second half, and that's all Miami needed. I mean, they were down 31-17 at the half, come out and outscore them 17-7 in the second half, but you couldn't get over the hump. So this was, the Kenny Pickett for Heisman thing that brought up last week, not happening. That don't happen after a game like this. But I think this is one of those, like, Manny Diaz kind of got over the hump a little bit, and I don't think he has to worry about his job for the rest of this season. I think he's going to be fine. They went with the youth movement. These guys are playing hard, and they are fighting. Charleston Rambo, by the way, 7 receptions, 101 yards. Looked good. I mean, the receiver core is good. The defense, not great, but you can see a little bit of improvement. You got a thought on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird game. Miami played really well. Miami's playing well offensively right now. Miami's defense still isn't very good. That's what Manny Diaz is supposed to be good at. So, we'll see if that can continue or not. But Pitt just played bad. This looked like a Pitt team that had overperformed what they were supposed to do all year anyway, and this is the team that they've kind of been all year.
This is the team that lost to Western Michigan.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. This was the team that lost to West Michigan. That's exactly right. They came home and they thought we're better than this team, and they didn't have to show up. Rinse do every day.
Yes.
Every day in the sport.
Yes, you are 100% right. 100% right. Let's see. Let's move off of that one. And this one, I almost wanted to leave the show with this, but I didn't. Houston 44, SMU 37. And I think this might have been the second best ball game of the day. Did you sit and watch this last night?
Yeah, SMU Houston. I told everybody, we talked about this game. This is going to be the best game Saturday night, and it was.
It absolutely was. I had it on along with Ohio State, Penn State, Ole Miss, Auburn, etc. This is the one that really, really stole the show. I mean, it doesn't get. I wish that this was a weeknight game so that more people would have been able to see it. That's what I really wish. I think it was Clayton Tune's best game. He was 27 out of 37. That's Houston's quarterback, by the way. 27 out of 37, 412 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Houston, they should have won this game by way more than they did. Their win or post-game win expectancy in this game, 92%. They won on a kickoff return with 17 seconds left in the ballgame. SMU had driven the field and had kicked a 46-yard field goal to tie it. And Houston won yardage, 489 to 355, and to hold SMU's offense to only 355 yards is a spectacle. That's a feat right there.
Yep.
They won yards per play, 6.4 to 5.8. They won third downs, 56% to 43%. They won drive points, 27 to 14, and they won rushing. Check this out, 77 yards to 50 yards. We didn't have to rush in this game.
From how Houston started the season till now, they're the most improved team in the AAC.
Yes.
Because they started the season off in a weird game against Texas Tech where they were just on fire for the first quarter and then didn't score again the rest of the game.
Yep.
Struggled early a couple of games after that, and man, Dana Holgerson has found something that works. And they are back to the Houston, we're dropping 40 on you, and if you can't score 40, you ain't winning.
No, you have got that right. The offense was not good early in the season, like you said.
Uniform game last night. Unbelievable, by the way. Love the black and red from them. Love the chrome helmets with the red little hue tint to it. Love that. The SMU jerseys that said Dallas across them, and I like that. I liked it. I like the SMU helmets. I like the two-tone logo. That was an all-uniform game last night.
It was really good, man. It was pleasant on the eyes. It was an awesome game.
I liked everything about it.
SMU got a touchdown return, kick return touchdown early in the game, and it only made karmic sense for Houston to be able to win that game with a kick return touchdown at the end. It was an awesome game. You look at some of these numbers. This Houston defense is serious, man. They are top 10 in efficiency. I think they might be top 5 in efficiency right now, but they are. The defense has led the way for them this entire season, and now the offense is starting to click. They are awesome. The fact that Houston had, they had 2 fumbles. They recovered one of them themselves, but they are the team that actually gave up points off of a turnover. They gave up 6 points off of a turnover, and SMU had a turnover, but Houston didn't capitalize on it, and Houston was still able to get the win. This is the team that can give Cincinnati fits. Like, it's going to be a problem in the AAC championship game. They don't play in the regular season this year, and I'm kind of glad that it falls that way. I don't want to see a rematch in the AAC championship. This is almost exactly what Cincinnati needed to have had. We're not going to talk Cincy today, but they kind of struggled with Tulane, but I think they're bored.
They didn't struggle with Tulane, Gary. They beat them by 25. They struggled in the first half. It looked weird in the first half, and then they rolled off like 20-something unanswered points, and Tulane didn't cross the 50 the entire second half. Yeah,
it was 31-12. It was by struggle. I mean, they didn't demolish them the way that they should have. How's that? So
okay,
they
didn't beat it. I'm sorry they didn't beat them by 30.
I mean, they were 28 point or 26 and a half or whatever it closed.
It was a really close first quarter. It was a weird second quarter. Third and fourth quarter, ball game was over.
Yeah, it was definitely over. But yeah, I mean, this is 2 weeks in a row where they've just kind of sleptwalked through it, right? So, but Houston is the team.
If you sleepwalk through beating somebody by over 20, I'll take that. I don't know what you're supposed to do.
No, I get where you're coming from. I get it. But there are factions that believe that they should be killing everybody by 28 and whatnot to be able to get into the playoffs.
Just wrong.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir.
Those are the same people that think it's all of these teams' birthright. These guys bringing up, oh, he's an LSU fan. He should understand. No, it's nobody's birthright to win 10 games a year. It's nobody's God-given birthright to be 7-1 every year. When you're 7-1, be happy that your team's playing well, because there's going to be dark days coming and you're not going to be 7-1. Jesus Christ.
True. Very true. All right, so Houston, of course, massive win there. Dana Holgorsen has got this thing rolling, and it looks like his plan of redshirting and building up his roster to set up for a strong third year has worked brilliantly.
How many of these guys are they losing next year? Are they bringing most of this team back? Because that's the team you got to look for next year. Because will they be in the Big 12 next year? Are they starting that one early? Or
I think it's 2023. I think it's 2023,
okay.
But they are I think they're going to lose some of these guys. They are going to return a lot. But yeah, I mean, it's a typical team.
I still think Cincinnati needs to be careful with SMU in a couple of weeks.
That's
they still going to be an awesome game.
They absolutely do. Moving on, Big Ten matchup. Wanted to bring up Ohio State and Penn State. Ohio State wins 33-24. Ohio State's post-game win expectancy here was actually 67%, which was less than I anticipated. They were favored by 18.5. I think it got to 19.5 by kick.
It got to 19.5 by kickoff.
Which is absolutely – it felt like that line was super inflated because of the Illinois stuff. Eric jumped in and said, now that sounds like an LSU fan. Maybe. TreVeyon Henderson in this game, 28 carries, 152 yards, 1 touchdown. He did have a long of 68 yards, so that kind of skewed the numbers just a little bit. But still, Penn State was impressive in this game. Like, all of the expectations beforehand, it kind of, I think you and I talked about this. It felt like that Illinois game, Penn State was setting up for the Ohio State game, and they did not anticipate that anything that they could do would lose them the ball game at home against Illinois. And they're just not talented enough to just be able to sleepwalk through a Big Ten opponent. So you come out in this game and you're fired up, you're on the road, you're ready to roll. They still got a pretty good defense. They held Ohio State to 466 total yards, 305 passing, 161 rushing. The biggest issue here was Penn State still cannot run the football. And Ohio State's run defense is pretty good, but they ain't that good. I mean, 33 yards rushing on 29 carries, like, that ain't going to get it done. I was very impressed with Sean Clifford, though. I mean, for his injury, throwing shoulder and everything, 35 out of 52, 361 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. This thing was tight until late in the game. Ohio State had to kick a field goal late in the fourth quarter to make it a 2-score game. What were your thoughts on this one?
So this game played out exactly the way I thought it would. I told you that this Ohio State offense that has just been rolling over everybody, and everybody wants to make them the number 2 team in the country. Like, let's hang on. They've been beating the hell out of nobodies, okay? Like, when they play a nobody, they beat the shit out of them. When they play somebody that hits them in the mouth, they kind of fold up a little bit, all right? They're extremely athletic. This defense is not good at all. This Penn State offense is terrible. They're terrible. Yeah. They're just terrible. They're not good at anything. They make everything look hard. They make everything look difficult. It looked like getting 3 yards of play looked like it was just the most exhausting and frustrating thing in the world, and that's not a great defense. They're just bad. Yeah. If Penn State had any semblance of an offense, they could be special. There is no team in the country right now that has a greater separation of talent from one side of the ball to the other than Penn State. Their defense is electric and really, really talented, but they're on the field constantly because their offense is just god-awful.
Yes, and what's crazy about that, so Ohio State, here's the storyline. Ohio State won yardage 466 to 394. They won yards per play 6.9 to 4.9. Penn State ran 81 plays to only 68 for Ohio State. Ohio State won rushing yards 161-33. They won turnovers 3-1. The fact that Penn State turned the ball over 3 times and we're still in this ballgame, that tells you everything you need to know. Penn State won third downs, by the way, 69%, nice, to 33%. And
if I was Penn State's defense, I'd be furious. I'd be absolutely furious. We were on the field all damn night. We were doing everything we could, and the sons of bitches across the hall from us just can't do anything at all.
Yes, it would be very, very frustrating.
I'm going to tell you this, man. All these schools looking at Franklin, why? Why? I've asked this for a couple of years, by the way. Every year his name comes up for big jobs, and I don't understand. I'm not saying he's a terrible coach, but why is he seen as like the premier coach in college football that every program would want?
That I don't have an answer for.
9 years ago, he did something special at Vanderbilt. Okay. All right. What has he done special at Penn State besides finish third every year?
Well, I mean, he won the Big Ten in a really weird year back in 17 or 20.
That's right. And they kept him out of the playoff, and that was bullshit. And I get it. That year he was awesome. But then he lost his special quarterback, he lost his special running back, and he lost his OC. And after that, they've been garbage. How is that any different than what O's done, except for he had a complete collapse like O? I mean, I get that. That's a shit show. But
I mean, last year –
he was a product of a special quarterback, a special running back, and a special OC.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right about that. I don't have an answer for you. Like, I think he's a pretty good coach.
I like Franklin. I just don't understand why his name always comes up. It's weird because does he really hate it at Penn State? Like, why do you think he wants to leave all the time? And then why do these other places think that he's like the next Christ that's going to walk through the door and save your program? Like, what have we seen to get that?
Compared to what they have had at USC, I do think Franklin would be an upgrade.
Well, okay, yes, because he's a grown-up in the room, and they kind of really haven't had that. But, man, I don't know.
I think people talk about him because they feel like he's gettable. Like there's some coaches out there.
But that's weird, right? Isn't that weird that you want somebody only because they're gettable? Like, why are you not happy where you're at? Like, if you're always looking for the next job, do you want that guy?
I'm with you. Larry jumped in. He said Penn State recruits well, should be doing a little better. And they should. The issue, their roster is not upper echelon Big Ten. Right, this roster should not be competing with Penn State, with Ohio State. Excuse me.
No,
it's good. It's a top 15 roster.
That's right.
It's not national championship, and it does make me wonder, like if he goes to USC, which I still believe that he'll be at Penn State next year. Like I think that's what
we all the reports are coming out that all of this is just a reason to get him a big raise, and that's fine. That's what the agent's job is to do. But at some point in time, these other programs kind of have to want him for his agent to be able to put that stuff out there.
True.
And I don't understand that.
True. I mean, obviously there is some kind of talk going on between him and USC, and I could get it. Right? I think
and his name was floated out for the LSU job. LSU inquired about him. And it's not that I would hate him because he's a big upgrade from O. But the guy that's always wanting the next job, at some point in time when you get him, 3 to 5 years later, he's going to be looking for the next job because that's what they do, and that's a little weird to me.
I don't have any argument there. I don't have any kind of argument there. It was a strange game. Like I said, Penn State won third downs 69-33. They won drive points 21-20. Both teams had a fourth down failure. Ohio State's defense is still an issue. If you are giving up this kind of stuff to Penn State's offense,
you know where I think they lost this game? This is where I think they lost this game.
You talking about Penn State?
Yeah. They were down by 5 maybe. I don't know, whatever the hell. They ended the game. And it was 4th and 4 or 4th and 5 from their own 30. And I think they should have went for it there. There was only 4 minutes left or 3 minutes left to go to the game, 2 minutes and change. And they had all their timeouts, and even the announcers were like, well, you got to pump the ball and hope your defense gets no. There's not going to be many opportunities where if you get 4 yards, you can continue to go on the drive. This is not a team that can score with 30 seconds left on the clock. Okay. It's going to take all 2.5 minutes and those 3 timeouts to get a touchdown for this offense. Everything they do is really hard to get any yards at all. why do you think if they go down, get a 3 and out, and get the ball back, that they can score in 45 seconds?
You're right. I would have gone for
nothing
that.
they showed that they could break one for a big play.
Yeah.
Like Ohio State's defense isn't good, but those guys have speed. They can not let somebody get behind them pretty easily.
Yeah.
And that's all you have to do at Penn State is make them take the 3 or 4 yards at a time, and it's going to take all 98 seconds to score, and it's ball game.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I just thought when he punted there, I thought, well, that's ball game, because it doesn't, even if Ohio State doesn't get the field goal, Penn State's not going on a drive in 38 seconds. They're just not.
No,
that's not how this offense is put together. They don't have the ability to do that.
They do have, they got Dotson as the playmaker, but when you've only got one,
it's pretty hard to not let that. It's pretty easy to not, when you're Ohio State. Ohio State's defense is not what they've been in the past, but they still got athletes that are not going to let one guy get behind them.
Agreed. It's late in the ball game for sure. You might could be able to trick them early.
Oh yeah,
not late.
No, that's what I'm saying. In a situation like that, when you're up by less than a touchdown and you can't give up a touchdown, you just let them catch everything in front of them and tackle them.
Yes. Brad's Crazy Life jumped in. He said, LFG Braves. Yeah, let's go. All about it. Very interesting. What's going on in the World Series? Obviously, we won't be talking about it today, but yeah, that's it. The World Series has been a lot of fun. Moving on, I wanted to talk about the late game. Did you stay up and watch BYU and Virginia?
I watched most of it, yeah.
So this was a fascinating football game. Virginia's defense is hot garbage. They let BYU do whatever they wanted to in this game. BYU had 734 yards of total offense in this game. By the way, BYU won this 66-49, and this was a game until Brennan Armstrong went out. Did you see when Armstrong walked off the field? And I had the game on mute, right?
Yeah.
But I could see what he was saying. And he said, it's broken. He's pointing at his rib, and he said, it's broken. And he didn't come back in for the rest of the game. And the game was effectively over at that point. They were already down by 10 at that point. But as soon as he went out, that was it. It was done.
Yeah, well, Virginia can't score. This is the BYU team that we saw the first 4 weeks of the season, 5 weeks of the season, before they just had a complete and utter collapse.
Yeah.
And just stroked out for about 3 or 4 weeks. This is what they looked like before the season started. At some point in time, I had a feeling they were going to get back to this way of playing football, because I don't think you forget that. I just think you stop doing what you stop putting in the work because you don't think you have to. And then you get smashed by a couple of teams, and then, it takes a couple of weeks to get your legs back under you. And, without Armstrong, this Virginia team is not going to be good at all.
Larry,
I do think that guy's special. I think that guy's good. And if he's not in, this offense is going to struggle.
Yes, very much so. They're not as bad as what Penn State looked like when Clifford went out.
Oh, no. But they're not Penn State bad offensively.
But it's still a big change at the quarterback position, because the backup cannot do the things. Woolfork is his name. He can't do the things that Armstrong does. Larry said Armstrong went out when? I didn't catch when he was out. Went out with about 12 minutes left, I guess. They were down 59-49 already, and Virginia was driving. He ran 3 yards to get a first down on 3rd and 2, maybe, something like that. But he immediately pointed at the rib, and the very next play, he threw an interception and walked over. He didn't even try to do anything on the interception. He just, as soon as he threw the ball, he walked towards the sideline and started pointing and said that his rib was broken, and didn't come back in for the rest of the game. He was pretty good beforehand. He was 22 out of 34, 337 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That last interception, obviously the last pass of the game. Woolfork came in, was 2 out of 5 for 35 yards passing. Brennan Armstrong also ran 11 times for 94 yards. He was the leading rusher for the Hoos in this ball game. Tyler Algier, running back for BYU, 29 carries, 266 yards, 5 touchdowns. Jaron Hall, the quarterback, had 6 carries for 42 yards and a touchdown. Jaron Hall also 22 out of 37, 349 yards and 3 touchdowns passing. Ridiculous game for BYU. Again, 734 yards of total offense to only 588 for Virginia. And I say only 588 just because they outgained them by 150 yards. And it's tough to do that against a team that gains 588 yards. Like, offensively, this was just a ridiculous ball game. Ridiculous. But BYU got it rolling again. So Kalani Sitake doing what he does. This was a fascinating watch to end the evening. Moving on, SEC, Auburn, 31, Ole Miss, 20. Let me give you the rundown here. Auburn won yardage, 483 to 463. They won yards per play, 6.3 to 5.7. They won drive points, so they were able to drive the ball more, 31 to 17 on that. They owned rushing, which was a little more surprising than some would think. 207 to 156. Ole Miss won turnovers 2-1, but they had 3 fourth down failures, and that is just Kiffin's MO. That's what he does. Analytically, he looks at it and goes for it. When they were down 31 to 20, and he chose to go for that fourth down instead of kicking the field goal to make it a one-possession game, I was a little shocked that he didn't. Analytically, it makes sense. Daniel jumps in, said War Eagle. Brad's Crazy Life said he's in Olive Branch, and he said War Eagle. Cheers to that. Ole Miss won third downs, 40 to 36. But I did notice when Matt Corral is not healthy, Ole Miss has almost no chance. Matt Corral is this team. Like, it's just not Matt Corral not being healthy, though. They're missing like 3 offensive line starters. Yeah. Their receiving core is completely decimated right now. And then defensively, the reason he has to go for it, Gary, is because it's not because the analytics say it or whatever. He knows his defense can't get stops. That's just it. Yeah. I still feel like I would have kicked that field goal, but that's hard for me. And then you would have given a touchdown drive. And you kick the ball off. They're going to get the ball at the 30, and then they're going to drive 70 yards to score another touchdown. That doesn't help you. It's still a hell of – so McKinnon, who normally jumps in on the show, McKinnon actually texted me last night and was talking about this situation, and we discussed the fact that Kiffin just does not have the trench talent or the skill talent at Ole Miss. That's right. So he has to build everything around the quarterback. And I don't at some other jobs, I don't think he would have that issue, right? No, it's going to be totally different. What Lane is good at is taking what he has and making the best out of it, and building an offense around it, which is what makes him an exceptional offensive football coach. So many Ole Miss fans are killing DJ Durkin all the time because they can't get stopped. Where do they have talent on the defense to act? Like, there's no scheme that you can put together. I've got friends that hate the defense and hate the whatever it is, the 3-2-6 or whatever they run. Like, there's no scheme that he can put out there. You know why he's running the 3-2-6? Because he has 6 DBs that are better tacklers than he has defensive linemen or linebackers. Yeah. So if you take a DB out and replace it with a linebacker, okay, that's a more conventional defense. But if the guy you replaced and put on the field can't make a tackle, then it doesn't help you. Like, there's no scheming. They don't have defensive talent. They don't have depth there at all. And offensively, Matt Corral is a warrior god, and that's about it. Yes, you're 100% right. Auburn had 7 tackles for loss. Almost only. I thought 4. Bo did some special things, by the way. Yeah. As soon, the very first drive, Bo had one of those. I ran 75 yards behind the line of scrimmage and finally made a play for like a 9-yard first down. And I thought, well, if it's going to be one of those nights, that's what he did to LSU. That's what he did to Arkansas. If he's able to do that, he ain't stopping him. Nope. You are 100% right about that. It was fascinating. It was fascinating to watch. Is there a running back that you would rather have in the SEC or in the country right now with a 2-score lead where you need to ice the ball game away than Tank Bigsby? No, because he doesn't go out of bounds. They tackled the football. He was holding the football. He was carrying the football, and a defensive guy jumps and wraps his arms around the ball. And I was watching with an Ole Miss friend, my buddy Scott, and I just told Scott, I said, that boy better hold on because he's going for a ride. And about 6 yards later, Bigsby finally fell down. And he just drugged that dude. Yes. Well, Bigsby is fantastic. He has not been good for 4 or 5 weeks. Like, he hasn't – I don't know if it was an injury or what. Jacquez Hunter had kind of taken over.
Oh, I think defensive schemes were just trying to shut him down because that's what you do. Ole Miss doesn't have the scheming to shut anybody down. He just had with up 2 scores. Tank is a guy that I wouldn't mind having in the backfield to ice a game away.
No,
that guy's really hard to tackle. Right. He doesn't go out of bounds, and everybody who does tackle him doesn't want to tackle him the very next play. And so you just keep running at those guys. You just find a spot. It's like a DB, a quarterback that's picking on a DB. You just find a guy and you just say, we're just running it left all night long for the rest of the game because these guys ain't going to want to tackle me. After 3 or 4 times of getting hit, they're just going to get out of the way.
It played out with the stats for sure. 23 attempts, 140 yards, 1 touchdown. Bo Nix, another great passing night. 22 out of 30, 276 yards, 1 touchdown. I thought before the season that it was going to take a long time to be able to develop Bo Nix into a good, competent quarterback, and I was just wrong. What Brian Harsin and Mike Bobo, they're 5-2 right now. Yeah,
pretty good.
I mean, this is a good football team. Like
I'm gonna tell you this, man.
They're going to beat Alabama at the end of the season.
The game day option next week, going to A&M wouldn't be a bad idea.
I tend to agree. I don't think that they have announced yet.
No, they haven't announced it, and everyone assumes that they're going to go because they want to showcase Cincinnati. And I love Cincinnati, and I want Cincinnati to get publicity. And I want there's not going to be a bigger game next weekend than Auburn going to A&M. That's an unbelievable game, and that's going to be a fantastic atmosphere.
Yes. They're not 2 great teams, but they're 2 really good teams. I think you're going to get a game a whole lot like you got Michigan State, and nobody would be upset about that. I do believe that. Let's see, the SEC. I was going to see if they announced. I think that's supposed to be I think it will be the 2:30 game.
That'll be the 2:30 CBS game. I can't think of another SEC game that they'd want to put. It ain't going to be LSU Alabama. No. That they'll end up putting on the SEC network.
Well, there's a chance that one's the 11 a.m. game, or Georgia Missouri might be the 11 a.m.
They're not going to put Alabama on an 11 a.m. Gary. Jesus.
Well, it's between them and Georgia. So
they ain't putting Alabama on an 11 a.m.
Hey, you might be right about that, but yeah. Auburn, I do think, is going to beat Alabama at the end of the season. They look like a team that is,
I kind of do too.
Yeah, they're really good. Like this is a good football.
We're gonna have a weird round robin for Auburn, Texas A&M. Now, I guess Ole Miss got 2 losses, and Alabama. If those teams kind of all beat up on each other, we might have a weird 2 or 3 loss team make it to Atlanta from the West.
Yeah, if Auburn loses to A&M. That gives them 2 losses in the SEC. A&M's already got 2 losses in the SEC. If Auburn beats Alabama, that's 2 losses, and then Ole Miss would have 2 losses. Ole Miss is going to end up with more because they have to play A&M if A&M goes undefeated.
Yeah, if they lose to A&M, like it's going to play out, but it's
a lot of fun.
You've got some good teams. Listen, last night the second from the bottom team in the West, Mississippi State, played the second from the top team in the East, and they beat the hell out of them.
Yes, they did. I've got that.
We've said this for a long time. The West is always it's the best conference in all of football.
It's the best division, yeah, for sure.
Division, yeah,
best
in
division.
All of football.
Best division. Moving on, I've actually got that game on here to talk about here in just a little bit. I did want to hit on Georgia 34, Florida 7, because this is why you don't start Anthony Richardson in his first game against Georgia. This was, and it's not just that. It's that there's a reason why Dan Mullen has not been playing AR-15, right? It's the reason why he hadn't been starting. At Florida, so I did have somebody text me yesterday that said, hey, Dan Mullen needs to figure something out at the half. This is embarrassing. They're down 24-0 at the half. They need to figure something out. I said, there's nothing to figure out. This season is a wash. They do not have a competent quarterback. Yeah. Like it's Emory Jones ain't good. Anthony Richardson ain't good. They can make some spectacular plays. But as far as being able to just run the offense and not make mistakes, etc., I mean, Georgia had 3 turnovers in this game. Florida had 3 turnovers as well. But Georgia was able to, actually capitalize. That's the word I'm looking for.
Georgia's a substantially better football team.
Oh yeah, but Florida all season long had actually been, numbers-wise, they were great. They just made mistakes that cost themselves football games.
Yes.
They did the same thing here. Anthony Richardson, 12 out of 20 passing, 82 yards, two interceptions, excuse me. Emory Jones, 10 out of 14 passing, 112 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Emory Jones had the one rushing touchdown late in the game.
Well, yeah.
That was basically just they just wanted to make sure they didn't get shut out. That's all it was. That's what they were fighting for. They're down 27-0 late in the fourth quarter, and that's what you're fighting for. That's absurd. I mean, I don't know.
What are you supposed to do? They're supposed to just quit?
No, not quit. That's what I'm saying is that it's ridiculous that this team, that's what they were fighting for.
Shit out of them?
Yeah, no, it's not just
it's
that Georgia
ridiculous
beat the shit
that
out
the
of them.
best team in the country beat the shit out of them.
It's that Florida should not be that far behind them at this point in Dan Mullen's era at Florida. Do you not agree with that? They shouldn't be getting beat 34-7 by Georgia. I mean, Georgia's a great football team, but like Florida should be better.
Gary, 2 weeks ago, they shouldn't have gotten the hell beat out of them by a shitty LSU team. That's what shouldn't happen. All right.
True.
When that happens and then you get beat 35-7, like, yeah, that makes sense. Why does that not make sense?
No. I'm not saying that, like, based on the LSU thing, yes, absolutely. The issue that I've got is that Florida should not be this bad. They shouldn't. The LSU thing should have never happened.
Let's look at recruiting rankings for the past, I don't know, 4 years, since 3 years that Dan Mullins has been there. Are they anywhere close to one another at all?
No. This is Florida is.
So why should they not be this big of a gap? Why is that separation not supposed to be there?
Okay, look at Ohio State and look at Penn State. Because it's basically the exact same thing. Penn State and Florida are very similar in their rankings, and Ohio State and Georgia are very similar in their recruiting rankings.
So because Penn State played a closer game against Ohio – no, Ohio State and Georgia ain't close. Ain't close. Gary.
Not this season. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's a bad analogy.
I feel like –
give me Ohio State last year and Penn State this year. That's a pretty close analogy.
I mean, Penn State last year was worse than this year's Penn State, and that was still only a 38-25 ball game last year. I mean,
Penn State last year offensively ain't worse than this team this year. This is the worst offense I've seen in the Big Ten, and that's some badass offenses. Okay,
that's Iowa's offense.
Them in Iowa look like they couldn't score 24 points if you locked them in the stadium alone with no defense. They look bad.
I mean, you're not wrong. Penn State did score 24 last night, but
yeah, I understand.
But I know what you're talking about.
24 points, but
I know it's a struggle to do.
Everything looked hard.
Yes.
Everything looked nothing. This is not a team with top 10 talent on offense. This is not a team with top 20 talent on offense or top 50 talent on offense.
Yes. I mean, it's ridiculous. Georgia, another pick six in this ball game. Florida actually won the yardage 355 to 354. They won drive points 7-3. But my God, when you give them the football over and over, I mean, and Georgia was able to take advantage of it. Georgia's fantastic. So we ain't going to stick.
The best team in the country.
Yeah, if they don't win a national title this year, there's major issues. I
think they're going to struggle because at some point in time they will play a good offense. Now they won't do it in the regular season. This is the one thing that also we got to realize. They still haven't played a good offense the entire year.
The best offense.
I'm not asking a great offense. They haven't played a good offense.
The best offense they have played is Auburn. Thus far. And they shut them down. So they
okay.
But that's how hard is it to shut that down if you've got a great defense, right?
Auburn's not great. Auburn looked good against LSU. Auburn's looked good against Ole Miss. Auburn's looked good against Arkansas. 3 teams that hadn't played great defense. So
true.
Okay.
True.
Like the only time they look good is when they're not playing great defenses.
Yeah. You were.
And I like Auburn, but Georgia hasn't played an offense. I think Alabama would give them problems. I do think Ohio State's offense would give them problems. I'm not saying they'll beat those teams. Okay. I think Georgia's substantially better than everybody. Let's get that on record. But let's not call this defense the greatest defense we've ever seen because they just haven't even been challenged. I mean, if you look at their schedule, Jesus, and then look at the remaining schedule, they won't play a top 75 offense the rest of the season.
No, you're right. Until they get
They're
to the
in the
SEC title
hundreds.
game.
They got Vanderbilt, they've got Missouri, they've got South Carolina, and like Charleston Southern or somebody like that. Like they won't play anybody in the hundreds.
As far as offensive efficiency goes, Auburn has worked their way up to number 29 at this point. But of course, they did have a pretty good game against Ole Miss last night, so that definitely boosted the rankings. But yeah, I mean that's the only top 30 offense that they have faced, and in Florida, so offensively, like as far as offensive numbers, Florida had been pretty good, but let's see what's Florida's offense. Florida's offensive efficiency is number 17, but they don't have a quarterback. Like
Florida turned the ball over like 9 times against a really shitty LSU defense. Okay,
yes.
What do you think? What do you think they're going to do against Georgia?
Exactly.
Nothing. They're going to give the ball away. Here, take it.
You can have it. You can have it. West Virginia 38, Iowa State 31, and
Neil Brown, baby.
We I saw your text in the chat yesterday while I was out.
Nobody talked to me last night at all. The whole day, not a soul responded the entire damn day. I was just only the lonely.
How surprising was that? Normally that group chat on Saturdays is full up. It was a little weird. Weird. Brock Purdy. It had been Brocktober. And in this game against West Virginia's defense, 16 out of 27 passing, 185 yards, 1 touchdown. Breece Hall, 24 carries, 167, 1 touchdown. Brock Purdy had 9 carries for 64 yards and 1 touchdown. But overall, like, West Virginia outgained them, 492 to 424.
Neil Brown is a really good coach.
He really is. West Virginia, here's the storyline of the game. Third downs. West Virginia won 60% to 17%. They won drive points 35 to 21. Iowa State won yards per play 7.0 to 6.5. They won rushing 239 to 122 and turnovers 2 to 1. They did have a 4th down failure though, so that's kind of even. But they went 2 out of 12 on third downs, and that's killer. The end of this ball game, so there were multiple calls in this. A lot of Iowa State fans saying that 3 of those touchdowns for West Virginia came basically because of the referees. I don't necessarily buy that. I do think, or at least a 21-point swing as far as what goes. The Iowa State is driving, and they run the ball to get into the end zone, and Breece Hall, they say that he fumbled into the end zone, and West Virginia recovered. You can't get a good angle on that play. And I watched it over and over and over. And because they called it a fumble on the field, it had to stay a fumble. And that drives me insane. But I don't know how to fix that. Right?
We have the technology. We need to replace I'm just done. I'm done with people screwing this stuff up. We have the technology to chip the ball. I know people make fun of me. Watch tennis, okay? They can tell you where everything is, and they can do it in seconds. Seconds, all right? So, and then we replace these humans that suck at what they do with just a metric shit ton of cameras, all right? We have to have more cameras. We have to have better cameras. We need a camera looking straight down over the goal line, and we need cameras that go straight across looking in at the goal line on both sides at all times. This is not that hard. This is not that hard.
This was that play would have driven me insane if I were an Iowa State fan. Absolutely. But that is not a play that cost you the ball game. What cost you the ball game is giving up 38 points to a West Virginia offense that has not been able to do anything all year.
That can't score. They can't score. Your defense was a complete and utter collapse.
Yes, Iowa State's defense is supposed to be good. That's what they have built the team on. And to give up 38 to West Virginia, Jared Dagey, who by all metrics that you can find, everything that you can come up with, is not a good quarterback. Went 30 out of 46 for 370 yards and 3 touchdowns. Letty Brown, until the TCU game last week, he had failed to reach 100 yards in 3 straight games. Last year was a coming-out season for him, and he had fallen to the back of the pack. And in this game, ran 22 times for 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. You had 200-yard receivers for West Virginia? Like, I don't even know where to begin with this. West Virginia ran more plays. Like, this was, if you're Matt Campbell, this is kind of what we saw coming. You've got 3 losses now before you even play Texas or Oklahoma State.
It's the law supposed to.
Or not Oklahoma State, excuse me, Oklahoma. Oklahoma. So, Iowa State, sorry, my friends, but good gracious. This is one of those things that will make Matt Campbell really think about leaving town. I believe. So, because I think this is the best team talent-wise and experience-wise that he's had there, and this is about what we can expect from him. Moving on, staying in the Big 12, Baylor 31, Texas 24, and Baylor, brother, Jeff Grimes, they highlighted him for the majority of that broadcast. Every time I looked over, they had a camera on him and not Dave Aranda, and what he's doing with Jerry Bohannon and in the running game and everything. I mean, this is where Dave Aranda is going to struggle. Is somebody's going to give that guy a job at the end of this year, and then you're going to have to try to rehire him. I'm a guy that I've spent my entire life loving defense, thinking it's just as important, if not more important, than offense. And I want a capable, competent coach, and I think these defensive guys should get an opportunity. And now, good luck. Good luck, because if you ever have not even a great offense, if you just have a good one, it's somebody snagging your OC and they're taking him on. Yeah. And then you got to hope you can replace him. And then you got to hope that new guy can recruit the way the old guy recruited. And it's just hard. It's just really, really hard. If I was a president and if I was an AD, you would have to be a hell of a football coach. I'm talking a hell of a football coach for me to not hire you and you not be the offensive play caller. Yeah. Storyline of the game, Baylor won yardage 427 to 382, yards per play 5.8 to 5.7. They won third downs 42% to 21%. They doubled them up in yardage, basically, in rushing yards, 192 to 102. They won drive points, drives of 60-plus yards or more, 21 to 17. Turnovers were even, but Texas was 2 of 5 on fourth downs. Those are 3 more basic turnovers. And Baylor was 1 out of 2 on fourth down. The Longhorns' second half, the adjustments that teams make against Texas at halftime is becoming an issue. They did nothing in the second half. Bijan Robinson is their offense. Casey Thompson didn't have a great day. Bijan is their offense, and if you have a really good defense that can bottle him up and just contain him, nobody's stopping that guy, but just contain him and slow him down a little bit, get off on third down every now and then, you can stop their offense, man. Yeah. I mean, he's all they got, but he's something special. But he's all they got. Baylor was one of my big picks this weekend on my Twitter show yesterday, and I had 4 different people before this game started say, "Do you really think Baylor's legit? Do you really think Baylor's legit?" I was like, "Yeah, man, I think they're good." Now, I was expecting to be big wrong because every time I've kind of made a bold proclamation, it's been pretty way off. It was exactly the way I thought it was. If you can contain Bijan, I thought Casey Thompson was really special when he first came out. I think teams are figuring out ways to slow that guy down. If you can make him throw the football, you can beat him. If he gets loose and you don't know who's running the ball, him or Bijan, they're really hard to stop. You just make him throw the football. If he doesn't hand it off, you keep him in the pocket. I think you can beat him. John Third Hit came in on YouTube, said Baylor's for real. Baylor is for real. They are. I think they're the best team in this conference. Smith for Baylor had 20 carries, 113 yards, and 1 touchdown rushing. Ebner had 12 carries for 66 yards. Both of those guys outrushed Bijan Robinson. Bijan had 17 carries for 43 yards. He did have 1 touchdown. Jerry Bohannon even outrushed him as far as yards per play. He averaged 5.4 carries on 5 attempts, so that's 27 yards. He did have 1 touchdown rushing. This was crazy. Casey Thompson, put up numbers, I guess, 23 out of 38 passing, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. But the 1 pick was serious, and, this was – Baylor's a really good football team. They're a really good football team. What Dave Aranda's doing is pretty unbelievable. He's built this team. In 2 weeks, Oklahoma goes to Baylor. Yes. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait to see that matchup. Let's move into. I'm gonna tell you this: that game day might go there. Oh yeah. Oh yes. They should. I'm looking through that schedule. Isn't that November 13th?
Yeah, you've got Wake Forest hosted NC State. If
Eh.
Wake Forest is undefeated, man, that might be a good opportunity to go showcase them because what they're doing is pretty special, and somebody needs to showcase them.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We still got another week of games before we get there. Who does Wake Forest have this week? Do you know? Before I jump into
I don't know. I was trying to look at that other week to see are there any other games worthy of going, and there's nothing close on the schedule. I mean, everything else is nothing you would want to go to. Get to this week. Hang on, shit.
Let's see. Wake Forest
ACC. They got North Carolina at North Carolina.
So they play at North Carolina this week. It's 11 a.m. game.
And then they got NC State next.
I mean, you can always get caught by North Carolina, but because I would imagine that'll be a shootout. But we'll see. I don't think North Carolina's very good, but
we disagree on that.
You disagree that North Carolina's not very good?
No, we disagree that that's going to be a shootout. I think one team's going to do a lot of shooting.
Okay.
And I think the other team's not going to stop them.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Moving
There's
back.
There's nobody in the ACC that's slowing down Wake Forest.
Oh, I tend to agree.
There's not a defense that's holding them within 50.
Okay. I can get down with that. Moving into the Big Ten, again, Wisconsin 27, Iowa 7. We don't have to spend long on this, but some of the numbers here. Wisconsin won yardage, 270 to 156. They won yards per play, 3.9 to 2.8. They won third downs, 38 to 15%. They won drive points, 14 to nothing. They won rushing yards. Now, this is the stat I wanted to bring up. 166 to 24. Iowa had 24 yards rushing in this game.
You talk about a Big Ten football team that makes everything look hard on defense, on offense. Wow. Like I've shit on Penn State today, and I think they've earned it offensively. Wow. What happened?
Iowa had 3 turnovers. They also had 3 fourth down failures. They were 0 for 3, so that is effectively a turnover there. So that's 6 turnovers to only 1 for Wisconsin.
This team is awful on offense.
Yes.
I mean awful.
It's why everybody talked about it, like what they were doing early in the season being unsustainable. And it's what I talked to you about when we did our little preview on Friday. Iowa is a team that's on the decline, and Wisconsin's on a team that's on the rise. Iowa has not had a chance to adjust yet to facing adversity. Their first test of adversity was against Purdue, and they could do nothing in that game. And then they didn't have time to get ready for this one.
My issue with that was I've seen enough of Graham Mertz to know that I'm not afraid of him.
Man, did you see how he started that game? Sorry to interrupt you, but he started like 7 out of 8 for 80-something yards and a touchdown. Bang, bang. And
I thought if the defense could slow their run game down and you put the ball in Graham's hands, I just assumed this Iowa defense would do what they did the first 5 or 6 games of the season, which is just take the ball away, which is what Graham has been doing, giving it away, and get short fields, kick a couple of field goals, and get a lead. And then Graham is behind the 8 ball trying to catch up, and then he makes more mistakes. This is what he's done. He gets caught in quicksand. He gets caught in a snowball, and it just gets worse and worse on him. And Iowa could never get into that situation at all. And once Iowa's down, but once this game got to 10-0, it's over. It could have been 100-0. It doesn't matter. Iowa's not scoring 10 points. They're not scoring 2 unanswered scores.
And the fumble to where Wisconsin only had to run 1 play for a yard, made it 17-0, and at that point, there's no reason to even watch anymore.
No,
this was
what are we doing?
This was rough. Wisconsin. So I told you that Graham Mertz started out like 7 of 8 or whatever for 80 yards, whatever. You go back and look. He ended the game 11 of 22 for 104 yards and had that 1 touchdown pass. They took it out of his hands afterwards. He only threw when he had to, and he didn't complete the passes. But just ridiculous. Spencer Petras pulled in this game. He was 9 out of 19, 93 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Alex Padilla came in 3 out of 6 passing, 39 yards. You know, they had to come up with something. John Third said Iowa no running game or passing game. Yeah, their offense is awful.
Bad. Here's the remaining schedule. Northwestern, not good. Minnesota, bad defense. Can Iowa score on them? Illinois, kind of bad at everything. Can Iowa score on them? In Nebraska. Do you think Iowa can go 2-2 in that realm?
Yeah, I think so. I think they can beat Illinois. I think they can beat Northwestern.
I just want to know where they're going to get points.
The other team will have to give them points.
They're going to have to, right? You're talking this defense is going to have to getting back to taking the ball away, right? Because that's what they did in the first week. That's what they did in the first couple of weeks where they were undefeated and they were a top 10 team in the country. They were taking the ball away and giving the ball in their offense on the 5-yard line or the 10-yard line. And so you're only having to go a little bit and you're in field goal range when you take the ball.
So currently in the West standings, Minnesota is 4-1, Wisconsin is 3-2, Purdue is 3-2, Iowa is 3-2.
If Minnesota wins the West, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
So Wisconsin, Larry jumped in, by the way. He said Leatherhead football. That's 100% what this was.
Yeah.
This was old man football that I typically enjoy. So Wisconsin has got at Rutgers, Northwestern, Nebraska, and at Minnesota, and I mean they'll be favored in every one of those. Every one of those games.
That's right.
Minnesota, however, is now 6-2 overall. They face Illinois next week. They got at Iowa, at Indiana, and Wisconsin.
Their only conference losses to Ohio State in a game in which they played pretty good.
This is a team that lost at home to Bowling Green.
Yeah. That's their other loss, by the way. Yeah, I was just about to say that.
This is.
Is there a separation of teams with losses? One is to a top 5 team in the country, and the other one is a bottom 100 team in the country.
Yeah.
Like a bottom 120 team in the country.
Yeah, Bowling Green's better.
It's going to be one of the weirdest resumes in the league.
Oh,
like them and Mississippi State are going to have a weird ass resume. Right?
That is something else. Yeah, that's Big Ten. Big Ten's nuts. Big Ten is nuts.
Can Minnesota keep winning? Now, I think Wisconsin. I think Minnesota will kind of lose some of these games coming up, and I think at some point in time, maybe Wisconsin catches them.
Minnesota could go 8-4. That's what I think.
Yeah, I was about to say. So yeah,
but I think Wisconsin can win out.
I do think Wisconsin can win out. We thought Wisconsin was going to be really good before the season started. They just started off god awful. That's a team that
their toughest slate was at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, you want to give teams credit for improving, though. Like, it wasn't just that they played a tough slate. They looked awful at the beginning of the season, and now they look competent. I don't think it's because of the quality of opponent, because Iowa was a great team when they played, and Iowa's regressed, and Wisconsin has progressed.
Yes. They lost to Penn State early based on turnovers. They lost to Notre Dame because of turnovers. Who else did they lose to?
I also think that Notre Dame team is a lot better than this Wisconsin team. I think if they play today, Notre Dame's just as – I think that game ends the exact same. Notre Dame's just a better football team.
I don't know if they beat them 41-13, but I think –
Oh, okay. No.
But yes, I think Notre Dame wins.
Outcome.
Yeah.
But I think Notre Dame wins, and whatever the line is, Notre Dame probably covers. Like, I just think they are the better football team.
I think you are probably right about that.
But that's not a knock. Notre Dame's a pretty damn good football team. They got one loss, and it's to Cincinnati.
Yes, Notre Dame's a good football team.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Pac-12 real quick. Washington State 34, Arizona State 21, and let me just give you the numbers here. They shocked them as a 16.5-point underdog. Dude, smart money, all the money started coming in on Arizona State late here. Washington State won yards per play 5.8 to 5.7. They won third downs 40 to 38. They won rushing yards 166 to 131, and they won turnovers 5-1. Arizona State's touchdowns came. They did not score until they were already down 28-0. Then they scored again.
Say I would say garbage time because they got down 28-0 fast. So it's not like the game was over.
And then they were down 34-7, and they scored 2 garbage time touchdowns. This was about as shocking as it gets.
I couldn't have been more wrong the last 2 weeks in Washington State.
This is a team with a lot of heart, man.
They are.
A lot of heart, and I don't understand it. They keep pulling this kind of stuff, and Jake Dickert will get the job.
Well, no, I think is there a reason you wouldn't give him the job? Because you're not pulling like a better name, right? Nobody really wants to give a woman.
Well, that's what I was. Unless you feel like you want it, because he's defensive coordinator. Unless you feel like the offense will eventually take a hit without Rolovich there, and you want to go get an offensive guy.
Yeah, they've always kind of been. They've really liked that air raid, but I mean, surely he can make sure that as long as I'm bringing in OCs that run that, you're okay. I think it's a hell of a job. What he's doing. Hell of a job. Didn't see it coming. Couldn't have been more wrong.
It's strange. It is very, very strange. The Pac-12 standings as it sits right now,
Weird as hell.
Washington State is a half game behind Oregon in the Pac-12 North. They're sitting at 5-4 as far as wins losses on the season, but they're 4-2 in conference, and their schedule remaining, they have got Oregon, Arizona, and at Washington, and I don't know of any of those that they couldn't win.
The game that messed me up in the Pac-12 yesterday was the Oregon State game. How in the hell does Cal almost score 40?
I didn't have so I had that written down as like
I know we weren't going to talk about it, but like, how many teams in all of the 130 teams do you think Cal could play a normal football game and score 40 on?
There's not many, and I didn't expect it on Oregon State, who had been playing well as of late. That Oregon State was one of my, so I went 5-2 against the spread on BetUS last week, and that was one of my losses because I had Oregon State -1.5 because my line on that was Oregon State -6, and with the way that they were able to run the football on Utah, I did not expect them to have many issues against Cal, but they did. But they absolutely did.
But they did. That's right.
Arizona State's win percentage, post-game win expectancy in this game was actually 72%. The five turnovers killed them. And obviously 5 turnovers will kill anybody. But, man, Arizona State, like at this point, I don't know what to make of Arizona State going forward. Like Jaden Daniels was not like – he wasn't the worst. He was 23 out of 35, 228 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Had 10 carries, 31 yards, actually went out for a little bit. Trenton Bourget, I believe is the guy's name, came in 3 out of 4 passing, 47 yards, 1 touchdown. This was interesting. Arizona State is now sitting at 5-3. They're 3-2 in the Pac-12 South, and I thought they would show up here. They've got USC next. They got at Washington, at Oregon State, and they close with Arizona. So it's not exactly a murderer's row. But they play like this, they could lose to any of them. So that's 2 straight losses for the Sun Devils. SEC talk. Let's go to Mississippi State 31, Kentucky 17, and brother, Kentucky road woes continue. You cannot turn the football over like that and expect to win a ball game. Like the post game win expectancy for Mississippi State, by the way, 100%. With those numbers, 100% of the time they win that ball game because. It's not just turnovers. It's that they were able to move the football at will on Kentucky's defense. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. This Kentucky had been the better football team for the majority of the season. And you get into this spot.
Mississippi State is going to have the weirdest resume when the season's over with. There's a world where Mississippi State is a 6-6 football team. All right. And they're going to have wins over A&M on the road. They're going to have a win over North Carolina, which is a top 2 or 3 team in the ACC.
NC State,
and the second best team in the East. Yeah. That's what their resume is going to be. The weird. This is a team that might barely make a bowl game, and they're going to have 3 of the best wins in the country.
Total yardage here. State 438 to 216.
That's weird as hell, right?
It is the weirdest thing. Will Rogers, by the way, not very many people discussing Will Rogers.
No, they shouldn't, Gary. They shouldn't. Look at his overall resume. They shouldn't. What he did last night was amazing and special, but what he did like the 2 weeks before that were god awful. So
if I told you that have you already looked up the stats on this?
I saw him last night. I watched a lot of this game.
Okay.
I watched the games with Mississippi State guys and Ole Miss guys. Yeah.
Watching the game, I did not realize exactly how absurd the numbers are. A guess. How many guesses would you say, or how many incompletions would you say if I told you he had 39 pass attempts?
Well, yeah. I mean, so because I've seen him play football all year, I would have thought he was probably 60%. Okay, so I would 65% maybe, but that'd have been it. No, the fact that he had more touchdowns than incompletions, pretty good.
That's well. So he.
Well, no, not a touchdown, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
No. He
one touchdown,
92% completion percentage. He was 36 out of 39, 344 yards, and 1 touchdown. Will Levis had 3 interceptions in this game.
Interceptions.
This was.
This is the best game Mississippi State played all year.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Even better than the game they played against A&M on the road. I had so many State friends tell me, "Oh, we finally ran the ball," because they ran the ball for 3 touchdowns. Yeah, but their total combined rushing yards were like 70 yards, 60 yards. Yeah. Like, they didn't run the ball. They ran the ball when they got into goal line situations, which is what you're supposed to do. Okay, when it's first and in 4, you should be able to rush that in. You shouldn't have to throw the football all the time. They did it. They did really well.
Yes, they did. So State, another one of those teams you talked about. Weird resume. This
is exactly what I expect from a Mike Leach football team, though.
Yeah.
This is exactly what
I agree.
Like, if there was a coach and you said, "I'm going to give you this weird ass resume," who's the head coach? I wouldn't get more than 3 options through before I said Mike Leach's name.
Mississippi State, by the way, is 3-2 in the league. They are 5-3 overall.
I know
their schedule remaining.
They've got Auburn, they've got Arkansas, they got Ole Miss.
And
they got also ran.
They're playing at Arkansas this week. How much fun is that game going to be?
It's going to be that's going to be a fun game. There's a world where Mississippi State gets beat by 20 because they play unbelievable and then they forget how to play football. Here's the crazy thing about this Mississippi State team. This is the truth. If they don't have the fuckery that happens at Memphis,
that's a 6-2 football team.
This is a 6-2 football team with an unbelievable resume. They're a top 15 team.
Honestly, like, it wasn't just that. They lost to LSU basically because of 2 explosive plays that they gave up on defense. That's it. They had 2 fumbles.
That's right, but they played bad against them. Like, they didn't put up any offense against LSU either. LSU shouldn't have won that game in hindsight. We're a terrible, bad football team. But Mississippi State played like shit in that game also. It's not like something unlucky happened to them. They played god-awful on offense that night.
Well, the same can be said for the Memphis game because they gave up 400-some-odd yards to.
You're right, but if you don't have the fuckery that happens,
then you probably don't lose that game.
They win that football game. This is a top 15 ranked team. This is why I get so angry with some of these calls going so poorly. Is you don't realize how that can completely throw off the perception of a team.
Yes. I agree with you. I agree. AMAC jumped in and said Pac-12 is a joke. They're behind the AAC.
That's not close.
And I didn't read this earlier. Larry said Cal is a matchup nightmare for Oregon State. I actually picked that game. Oregon State had actually won 2 straight against Cal. So
I don't think it was a matchup. Oregon State team. I think they're fun. I think they fell asleep at the wheel. I could be wrong. How they gave up 40 points to that Cal team, I don't get.
Ball Python Love said, been listening the whole time working this morning. Hey, cheers to that, my friend. We are obviously working as well. So once this gets done, I gotta chop segments and all that good stuff. I got 2 more that I wanted to hit. Let's go on and knock these out. Notre Dame, I did want to hit on them because I was impressed with what they were able to do, not only on offense, but with Kyle Hamilton out. I thought they could have some issues in this game, and they did not. They did not at all. They won this game, again, 44-34. They won yards per play, 7.8 to 7.6. They won drive points, 34-31. So these teams were moving the football on each other up and down the field. They won rushing. Now, this was a point of contention for Notre Dame fans for basically the entire season. They have not been able to run the football. But they had 298 yards rushing to only 213. They won turnovers 1-0. North Carolina won yardage 554 to 528. They won third downs. North Carolina did 55 to 45, but the Irish tied or led the game for all but 58 seconds. North Carolina's last 2 touchdowns came when they were trailing 31 to 20 and 41 to 27. This was interesting. I had this on. There were interesting moments in this game. I was not deeply invested in this one, but it was on one of the other TVs. I was a little shocked at how easily Notre Dame was able to run the football here. And it's not, like, obviously, North Carolina's defense, not anything to write home about, right? But Notre Dame had issues running the football against, like, Toledo and whatnot. And this is another example of college football seasons being a living organism where you can improve week to week to week, and by the time you get to week 8, 9, 10, etc.,
Yeah.
Notre Dame, one guy that we trust to be able to build an offensive line and build a rushing attack is Brian Kelly.
I think he's one of the best offensive minds in football.
Yes. What were your thoughts here?
5 different touchdowns by 5 different guys. I mean, Cone ran one and threw one, but that's the only time that you could say somebody was credited for more than one touchdown. Thought that was pretty special. They spread the ball out. No one person had an unbelievable performance. This is the definition of a team win. At no point in time were they really in threat in this game. They controlled the line of scrimmage. You just talked about that on both sides of the football. Their defense played good. Sam Howell looks defeated. Sam Howell was a Heisman hopeful, and people thought he would be the number 1 overall quarterback and all this stuff. And Sam Howell doesn't look good at football right now.
I will argue a little bit on that. Sam Howell looks like he is having to carry the entire North Carolina football team on his shoulders.
Well, hang on. How is that any different than Matt Corral?
I don't think it is any different. I think Matt Corral's great. I think Sam Howell's pretty good, but he doesn't have a lot of supporting him.
But one guy's neither does Ole Miss.
Right.
They have far less. I think there's substantially more talent at North Carolina than there is at Ole Miss, and the quality of opponents outside of this game is far harder in the SEC. One guy is doing it, and the other guy is trying to do it. That's the difference between being a great player that could be an NFL quarterback and a guy that I don't know that I'd want on my NFL team.
So let's look at Howell's numbers really quick. 24 out of 31 passing, 341 yards, had 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He ran the ball 18 times for 101 yards and 1 touchdown. Without Josh Downs in this game, I mean, they would have been in a whole lot of trouble. Downs had 10 receptions for 142 yards, and he was awesome. Like at 10 receptions on 12 targets, not bad.
No, one guy. They have an elite receiver.
Yeah. They had 2 other guys that ran for him. North Carolina did 15 carries for Ty Chandler for 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. DJ Jones ran 7 times for 39 yards. So everybody from North Carolina running the football averaged 5.5 yards per carry or more. Sam Howell, like running, passing, etc., he runs for his life a lot because that offensive line is not very good. He doesn't have a ton of really good skill weapons. And to me, I think I like Corral more, but I don't think that Sam Howell is that far off from him. I think you put him in a good situation.
Corral is a lot better than him. A lot better than him. I think, once again, I'll restate what I said and then I'll stop talking about it. Ole Miss is worse than North Carolina from a skill position and an offensive line position and a defense position. They don't have the talent North Carolina has. The quality of opponent is far superior. One guy's doing it and the other guy's not.
Yeah.
That's like that has to be a massive separation.
Yeah, okay. I see where you're coming from. I'll disagree a little bit, but I can't argue a whole lot with you. Can't argue a whole lot. Last game on the board that I had written down: Fresno State 30, San Diego State 20, and this went about the way that I expected. San Diego State was going to have to be able to score in this game, and they couldn't until late. I mean, this was it was a strange ball game. Fresno State was up 20-7 at the half. Jake Haener.
Well, at one point down, this game was 20-0, and that's when I knew it was over. And I just watched the BYU game because Fresno State can't come back. About it. Yeah. San Diego State can't. They're not scoring 20 unanswered. Like that. This offense isn't built that way.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong about that. Jake Haener, 25 out of 42 passing, 306 yards, 1 touchdown. Mims came in. So Ronnie Rivers did not play in this game, but Mims, 29 carries for 186 yards and 2 touchdowns against that San Diego State defense. It changes the game when the defense has to prepare against the pass. Like they were not able to bottle up the line of scrimmage, and thus it left wide open spaces for that running back to be able to get through. He had a long run of 59 yards, but still 29 for 186 and 2 touchdowns against this defense. I would not have expected that. 485 total yards for Fresno State. Now, the surprising part was San Diego State had 412 total yards here. San Diego State's biggest issue, though, 3 turnovers, and they gave up.
I was just about to say, giving the ball away, man.
Gave up 2 scores on those turnovers. So, that's rough. You can't do that. This was Fresno State, I think is the best team in the Mountain West. Like, I think they are. They are what? They got 2 losses on the season. One of them is outside of conference to Oregon. Lost that one by 7. Fresno State's a hell of a football team, man. Like, this is a hell of a football team. And Kalen DeBoer, his name's going to be up for a whole lot of jobs. Whole lot of jobs come the end of the season.
I think so, too. Yeah.
He's been awesome. He was awesome as Jeff Tedford's offensive coordinator. He was awesome last year at Indiana, especially with all the crap that they had to deal with Penix going out and Jack Tuttle and just injuries on the offensive line, et cetera. They found a way to score points anyway. But Kalen DeBoer has done a magnificent job. Jake Hayner is awesome. Like, he's just an awesome quarterback, man. I loved this matchup. It was, again, basically over once it got to 20-0, so you didn't have to pay attention a whole lot. But you look at some of these numbers, and it was a little bit surprising. Final rundown here, just to get us through stuff to mention, and then we'll hop out. This is a little longer than we typically go. Cal, we talked about that, 39-25 over Oregon State. Purdue, 28-23 over Nebraska, and I think Scott Frost is done. This is, I mean, we kind of thought it anyway. He had a chance to play his way back into this thing because there are some winnable games left on the schedule that we didn't think would be winnable. But you lose this one at home to Purdue, and Nebraska did not look good. They did not look good at all. And you called it, by the way. I mean, you picked Purdue. I thought Nebraska would show up. I don't know why I would ever think that. I'm done betting on Nebraska, period. Like, I keep thinking
Purdue
this team
5-3, man. Purdue 5-3.
This is Jeff Brom's got a good football team.
Well, listen, them and Minnesota are I didn't see that coming in the Big Ten.
No.
Okay? I just didn't.
No. I don't know what to make of. So let's look at what Purdue's got remaining here to close out. They are 3-2 in conference, so they're still like in the race. They do have that loss to Wisconsin, so that certainly helps or hurts. Excuse me. They're 5-3 overall, but you look at their schedule. They lost to Notre Dame, they lost to Minnesota, which hurts, and they lost to Wisconsin. But now they've got to win over Iowa, they got to win over Illinois, and they got to win over Nebraska. They got Michigan State next week. They got Ohio State after that. They got Northwestern. They got Indiana. And just, it's going to be rough, but yes. I think you could win. I think you could win Northwestern and Indiana. You can get to 7-5. So, and honestly, they could beat Michigan State this week. I'm not going to put it past them. They host them. Michigan State coming off a big win. Michigan State has been susceptible. They almost. I mean, they were in a dogfight with Indiana. I mean, we'll see. I'm obviously not going to call that. We'll see how inflated the line is this week. But Purdue ain't a bad football team. Utah 44, UCLA 24. Okay, so the shine is officially off of Chip Kelly this season, right?
No, because as soon as DTR was gone and didn't play in this game, you knew this game was over.
Yeah,
that guy's special, and the rest of that team is blah.
But I mean, obviously, you need more than just a.
But they don't have more than that. Yes, you're right. You need more than that. They don't have that.
Larry jumps in and said, "Go Utes." Go Utes.
Without him, that team doesn't go to a bowl game. They don't win 6 games.
Yeah, you're probably right. They've got Colorado this week. They got at USC. They got Cal after that. All winnable games, but not real winnable if you ain't got DTR. So we'll see what.
Yeah, I agree.
So Utah, of course, leads the Pac-12 South now. They are 4-1. Arizona State's 3-2. UCLA 3-3. USC 3-3. I think we're going to get our Utah and Oregon.
Larry, you think Garber's better than DTR, or you just think he's a better thrower? He's not a better quarterback.
I think he's a better passer. I just think I think it's
tough. There's a lot of guys that are better passers, but that doesn't mean they're better quarterbacks. The game isn't played one-dimensionally.
No, I was saying I don't think that
Larry, not Gary.
Oh, Garber's. Sorry. Okay, I was like, wait, did I say that? He said Garber's a better thrower. Yeah, I think he's a better passer overall. I don't think he's a better player. Like we'll just, you know, yeah. Larry, I could see where Larry's coming from, but I mean, there's so much more than just passing. Garber also has some stuff between the ears. I think he stressed yes, thrower. Yeah, I could. Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, all right.
Florida,
I guess we can.
Yeah, we can let that slide. FAU 28, UTEP 25. This ended the dream for game day going to El Paso. But UTEP still, 6-2. They fought to get back in this. They were down 28-10 at one point. This was the other game that I lost on BetUS. But it was 28-10 in the fourth quarter, and UTEP fought back, got it close, could not get over that hump. This is a fun football team. UTEP is. They're not great, but Dana DeMel has done a pretty good job rebuilding that program. And yeah, I think they're going to be at least competent for a while. You're never going to be great at UTEP, but the defense is still pretty good. So Clemson 30-20 over Florida State. I had to mention that one. The way that game ended, dude, this was insane. The not fumble-rooski, what do you call it? Like the backward passing, all the lateraling and whatnot. 40 yards away from the end zone, Clemson's up by 3, and you think that it is not going to cost you a cover or anything else, but those that had Florida State plus 9.5 or that had the total of 49 or 49.5, I apologize to you. Kyle, the handicapper that's on the show with us on BetUS, Kyle Hunter, had the under 49 in this game. And, you want to talk about somebody being irate at the end of this. Florida State really probably should have won the ballgame. But that's a team that's still growing, and they just made mistakes in this ballgame. And then I broke down Cincy 31, Tulane 12. Is there any other games that you feel like we need to hit on? Nope. All right, let's go ahead and get out of here then. You guys have been fantastic. Go ahead, like the video for us. There's still a lot of you watching live right now. We appreciate that. Hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We're trying to get to 5,000 by the end of football season. I think we can get there beforehand. Larry said Kyle is usually spot on. Yes. Kyle had a bad week this week, but we're through 9 weeks, and he's had 7 winning weeks. So that's pretty insane. He's phenomenal. So, again, BetUS College Football Show, SBR College Football Show. There's links in the description to both of those. Go and follow SBR Sports Picks on Twitter for Chris's show for now until they get the YouTube thing figured out. Of course, you see our Twitter, and there's also the links in the description. You can follow there at Gary WCE, at Chris B. Giannini. And the show is brought to you by BetUS, where the game begins, America's premier sports book. You can sign up using the promo code NCAAF 2021, and you will get a 125% deposit bonus up to $2,500. Gentlemen, that's a great deal. Great deal. It is sportsbook exclusive. Go take advantage of it right now. Chris, is there anything that I have not mentioned? Oh, winningcureseverything.com is the website. You find everything you need to know about us over there. And subscribe to the podcast. I think that's it. Chris, is that it?
That's it. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, let's go watch some NFL. Hopefully, you guys are having a fantastic weekend, a happy Halloween, and maybe the Braves will close this thing out for those long-suffering Braves fans that have been waiting around since 1999. We hope that this one knocks it out. With that said, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and hopefully, all of you tickets cash today. Thanks for checking out Winning Cures Everything. If you want to keep up with us, hit subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Visit the website at winningcureseverything.com, or you can like us on Facebook or follow us at Winning Cures, at Gary WCE, or at Chris B. Giannini on Twitter. Share out the show, leave a nice review, and make sure to